As promised, we got the BMW M340i that we're gonna be unwrapping and rewrapping. It is right now a battleship gray color from Avery Dennison, and it is going in a 3M satin black, but we're gonna put a cool little design on it. Come over here and see what Danny's doing on this side. He's actually removing the wrap little by little using a heat gun. If you remove the wrap while the car is cold and you don't use any heat, there's a big chance that you're gonna ruin the paint. Bumpers are made out of plastic. It's one of the things where you always have to be careful and take your time so that you don't damage any of the paint underneath. One of the things you want to do when you're disassembling these cars is remove the roof rails. Be careful with these little clips. If they do come off of the rail, it's okay, you can always put them back on, but the purpose of this is to make sure that the car is wrapped all the way inside. This is another rail and it comes off just as simple as this. If you're not new to disassembly, I recommend finding someone who's gonna help you disassemble, because if you damage one of these cars, it's expensive to fix if you break apart. But if you're willing to kind of take that risk and it's your own car, don't worry about it. There's a bunch of YouTube videos, and hopefully this is gonna just show you at least how to remove these things and start wrapping your quarter panels a little more nicer. So to take off spoilers, you're gonna want to use some fishing wire. I feel that plastic ones are always gonna be the easiest ones to work with, and all you do is just remove any carbon add-on like the spoiler right over here, and be careful not to damage the paint. It's very easy to pull the string the wrong way and you can either damage the wing or you can damage the actual paint. Simple things like this emblem have two prongs in them that sometimes can break. You want to avoid breaking things, so use plastic rivets so that you don't damage the paint. Can you wrap a car without removing pieces? Handles are probably going to be the biggest obstacle when it comes to laying any sort of panel, only because you're not going to be able to get the material correctly inside. So yes, removing door handles are going to be things that most wrap installers will always want to do, because it makes the job easier. Wrap isn't impenetrable. It's a fun way to change the color of your car, but depending on the film that you're using, Avery and 3M are some thick materials that provide a layer of protection on this paint. It had a couple of rock chips here and there just from normal driving, but we took off the wrap on the fender and the paint looks beautiful. Cleaning and prepping is the most important part of a wrap. This car has already been disassembled. We talked about how it is that we disassemble things and the things that we need off so we can wrap incorrectly. The solution that we're using is just soap and water. You want to use a detail brush and you want to agitate anywhere where there's moldings or brackets or any little things that get in the way of dirt just accumulating under these little pieces. The cleaner the environment, the better the application it's going to be. One of the common mistakes that I see installers always do is that they don't cut their panels before they start laying. They start cutting individual pieces, and it's going to take a lot more time doing it like that. Just put the panel across, measure to see what the quarter panel is all the way to the front door, cut out a side skirt from that, and then cut out the body panels of the car. Lay your panels, make sure you wet all around so that you don't get any dust when you're lifting up the material and repositioning it. All you want to do is just kind of glass out the film by pulling it in opposite directions where the tension's distributed so it looks like glass. What you want is for the tension to all be vertical. This makes sense later if you understand what installations are and what tension control is. See how I glass that out right there in the middle? Same thing over here. I'm gonna be pulling from opposite directions, distributing the tension. I'm gonna use a shimmy technique. And glass out this middle section. The solution we're using, just soap and water. Make sure you're overlapping so that you don't leave any air. 3M is one of those materials that leaves a lot of air. You also don't want to scratch the film, so just be careful with that. Have a clean buffer, use proper lubrication, and overlap your squeegee strokes. Another tip for wrapping cars is using masking tape. Masking tape prevents the material from sticking on to the material that's already installed. The last thing you want to do is wrap a door while you already wrap the fender, and when you pull it, it pulls the material on the fender. So one of these things that we use is masking tape. Clash over here and Danny are masking up this car so that we can lay this quarter panel and have it looking correct. Disassembling bumpers is going to be key to installing the film correctly. Wrapping sensors is a pet peeve of mine. If you're an installer and you're not wrapping sensors individually, It's cutting corners like this that's gonna prevent you from elevating your quality. Yes, disassembling a bumper isn't easy, but it's necessary if you want a high quality installation so that you can clean all the debris that's inside and properly tuck the film and make sure that it lasts. All right guys, so I have the back bumper on the car and I have the car jacked up. This is kind of the easiest way for me to kind of wrap. But one of the first things that I always do is I wet the entire area where it is that I'm working. There's dust on the floor that you won't really see that kind of kicks up. If you have a clean room, just like this white room, it's easier to see where it is that there's dust. It'll just prevent from getting contaminants on the film. So we've laid the film and there's a lot of tension in a lot of areas. It's just not distributed correctly. We have our tacking point, which is right in the middle of the bumper, and it's gonna be a place where when I pull, I know that the position of where the vinyl isn't going to move, so I can continue to kind of pull and stretch as I please. Tension distribution should be done when the material is cold. All you're really doing is just holding each side of the material. If you're a solo installer, use your body weight. It's always easier with somebody, but you can see how I'm flipping the tension around horizontally and kind of bringing it all the way through. I'm gonna tack it here. And the only place that I will use heat will probably be in this really contoured area where it contorts almost in a vertical angle. Other than that, it's just as simple as moving the material up and down so you can glass it. All right, guys, we just got to Rick's Magazine, the Tokyo show. We're here with our guys, all the guys from Rick's. Rico.
Oh, he's always shows up late.